Hello, welcome to today's workout. Thanks for taking the time to join me today. Today we're going to be going through, as always, a full body workout. Today doing some work in standing and then really working the quads, the glutes, and then moving down to the mat for some other areas of the body. We're going to get straight into it. Just coming into the center of the mat with me here. We're just going to start with some nice big deep breaths and reaches up to the sky. So just gently bending through the knees, flowing the arms up, reaching up nice and tall, exhaling as you fold over. Inhale, bend and then reaching high, exhale, folding down. Just a couple more of these to get the body warm. Let it know that we're about to do some nice work. Reaching those fingers long. One more. And coming back down to the center. Let's just take the legs a little bit wider and just move into a little bit of work, waking up the glutes and the quads. Bringing the arms out in front as we squat down. So just a small little mini squat to start with. Hinging at the hips back, bending the knees, and then squeezing to return to standing. Just doing whatever range is comfortable for you at this point as we get warm. You can leave the arms down by your side or just clasp the hands in front if that's more comfortable for you. Otherwise, using the arms to flow through and get some movement into the shoulders as well. Making sure the knees are following the line of the toes. Our core is staying active with the ribs moving down towards the hips. Staying with me here as we get warm, getting the heart rate up a little bit. Shoulders back and down, keeping the neck relaxed. If you want to take yourself a little bit lower, you can do. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's just hold down the bottom for some small little pulses. Not here for long. For 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Returning to standing. Nicely done. Give the legs a little bit of a shake out if you like. All right, we're going to get into our side sort of work. I'm going to spin around on the side obviously so you can see me. We're going to move into some single leg. So coming a little bit closer to the front of the mat so you've got nice room behind you. Taking the legs a little bit about hip width apart. From here, we're going to hinge forward at the hips, bending the knees slightly so they're a bit soft. Ribs are down towards the hips. We're going to start by moving the left leg. So the weight is coming onto the right leg, stepping the left leg back to tap the toes, returning to that starting position. Just starting with these toe taps here. Making sure we're trying to keep both hips facing towards the front, especially as we start moving that leg. We don't want to be rotating outwards. And trying to think about lifting the arch on this standing right leg. Again, shoulders back and down, nice and relaxed. The hands can just be on the hips nice and comfortably, or relaxed down in front, whatever you prefer. Just focusing on this moving leg. So through these movements, you're going to start to feel the standing leg working really hard so that those bottom muscles are working hard to stabilize that single leg stance. And then this stepping leg is doing some work as well. Stay here with me. It's also a nice balance challenge, these exercises. You can take that leg in as quickly or slowly as you like. Heavy through the heel for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's keep going with this. This time we're going to lift the leg off the ground and try hover it. So this is a bit more challenging on your balance. If you do need something nearby, please do. You can hold onto a wall or a chair. So as we're not tapping that knee, or that foot, sorry, there's a little bit more work on that standing leg. You might find that glute is starting to burn like mine is. Let's keep that balance. You can have your arms out to help with your balance as well. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's take the leg nice and long here. Again, soft through the knee. We're going to squeeze this extended leg here to lift the leg nice and long and lower to tap. So working into this left leg glute now. Still keeping the core engaged. If you need to tilt yourself forward a little bit more to get that range, that's fine. Should be feeling that standing leg working nice and hard. Loving the burn. 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nicely done. Stepping in for a moment here. We're now going to step back into a full lunge. So taking that, taking the left leg back, bending both knees down to, they should be at about 90-degree angles as we step back and lower down, and then lifting back up. Stepping in. So we'll now try join that all together. So stepping back, lower, step back in. So as we lower down, we again want to keep both hips facing forward towards the front. If you struggle with a lunge, you can just step back, gently bend a little bit and come back in. Otherwise, you can just stick with that stepping back of the foot. So choose whatever level you like. I'm going all the way down, but as I said, if you only bend down a small amount and step back in, that's fine. Doing really well here. Again, still trying to keep that arch lifted on our right leg that's in front here. And we're squeezing through the right glute as we lift up back into standing. 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Coming back up to standing, nicely done. Give that leg a little bit of a shake. I'm sure that glute has been doing a nice bit of burning. All right, and I'm going to spin around while we move on to working the other side. So just take a minute, have a nice big breath in and out in preparation for this other side here. Again, I'm coming a bit closer to the front of the mat. If you've got enough space, please just stay in the same direction and we'll just swap over legs. So now coming to stand on the left leg, body is hinged at the hips, knee is softly bent, and we're working this right standing leg. Starting with that tap backwards and in. Lifting through the arch of the left leg here. Using the breath. Making sure we're not breath holding. Keeping both hips facing towards the front. Making sure we're not opening up there. And we're keeping the ribs down towards the hip to keep the upper body nice and still. Just movement at the hips. A little bit longer here. Eye gaze can just be towards the front of the mat. Again, arms can be by the sides or out to the sides for balance. Squeezing through that standing glute to keep yourself nice and steady. If you do need a wall or a chair to hold on to, that's fine. And if you need to have a rest at any point, please do, and then join back in when you're ready. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, you know what's coming. We're now gonna move into keeping that foot hovered off the ground. So we're just bending and straightening, Don't worry too much about whether you're fully extending the leg at the back. We're just trying to keep that hover off the ground to work this standing leg a little bit more. Again, arms can come out to the side for balance if you need. It's really hard to talk and balance at the same time. Feeling the work through that standing leg. Not here for long, doing well. 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Extending long, just like we did on the other side. We're moving into that lift. So working into this glute now, squeezing, keeping the leg nice and straight, extending long, pointing the toes, lifting through that glute here. Again, if you need to hinge at the hips a little bit more, please do, but you want to make sure as you're lifting, you're not hinging forward. We're really trying to isolate that glute max muscle, which is the big bottom muscle. If you're struggling with any of these exercises as well, next time you try them, either do it on the flat floor. So because most mats have a little bit of foam or are a bit thicker, that is actually a little bit more challenging to the balance. Also, wearing shoes can potentially make your balance a little bit easier as well. If you want more of a challenge, barefooted is always good. All right, for 3 more. 2 and 1. Nicely done. Stepping in for a moment, we're moving into that lunge. So as we step back, bending both legs down to about 90-degree ankles at the knee. So we come back, bending down, stepping back in. Let's make it all nice, one movement now. Again, if you struggle with lunges at all, you can just come back a little bit and do a small little mini lunge, or you can stick with the toe taps, whatever level is good for you today. As we step back, making sure you're thinking about your legs being on a train track. So you don't want to take that leg right behind. We want them to be nicely spaced apart, so you've got a nice wide base of support. Working into the breath, driving through this front leg here, really thinking about squeezing that glute muscle as you stand up. Not here for too much longer, doing really well. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nicely done. Give that leg a little bit of a shake as well. All right, coming around to the front. We'll go into a bit of a stretch for those glute muscles in just a moment. But while we're still standing, we'll just stick with a couple more exercises here. Bringing the hands behind the head. Take the feet a little bit wider here. We're just going to move into a side bend, so working into the oblique muscles here. Taking one elbow down towards the hip, feeling length through this opposite side here, and then engaging these obliques, shortening the rib to hip distance there to come back up to the center. Let's just focus on that side to start with. So as you lower down, you almost want to think about like you're trying to take your body over something. So we're not just collapsing through the side, we're being intentional about that movement. So like you're growing long and over through that side to really get the best activation of those obliques. So inhale to lower, exhale to lift, making sure both hips are staying towards the front, and we're shortening the distance between the rib and the hip as we come back up. So really think about bringing that elbow back down towards the hip. Should be feeling it in these obliques on the side that is lengthening. Let's stay here for a little bit longer. For 3, 2, and 1. Nicely done. Let's move into the other side. Exactly the same, feeling the length through there and shortening back up to standing. In this position here, our legs should also be gently active. We're not just collapsing through the legs, we're keeping our legs active, our glutes are gently engaged, nice and stable through the lower body. Nicely done. Shortening that distance. Just like the other side, thinking about rolling and growing, lengthening over something rather than just collapsing down to the side. We've got just a few more here. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Whew, nicely done. All right, give those arms a bit of a shake. Let's find our way down to the mat now. Coming down into that 4-point kneeling position. Let's move just into a stretch for those glute muscles here. So bringing one leg back, we'll start with the stretching out the left leg. So make sure you've got enough room. Bringing the right leg back, the left leg is going to come up in towards a 90-degree position. So you can use your hand to facilitate that, otherwise just go nice and gently. You're then going to try and straighten that right leg back and then drop the hips down towards the mat. So almost like you're sinking in towards the mat. You should start to feel a stretch through this hip and the glute here. Just stick with that if that's feeling comfortable for you. If you want to intensify that stretch, you can think about stretching that right leg even longer and you want to sit the bottom back further. Or coming down onto the forearms here will also intensify that stretch. Sticking with whatever feels good for you at this time. If this doesn't feel good for you at all, bring that leg in closer towards the body and just think about pressing the hip out into that space there. And that will put a bit less tension on the knee. Let's stay here for 2 more breaths. And 1 more. All right, gently bringing that leg in and unraveling yourself here, and we'll swap over to the other side. So left leg goes long now, almost forgot my sides. Right leg bends in, bringing the foot in towards the hands, sitting the hips back into that space there to stretch through that glute muscle. Again, your options are taking that leg further back and sitting back further. You do want to think about keeping both hips facing down towards the mat though, as that will give you the most direct stretch. And then coming down onto your forearms will intensify that as well if that feels good for you. If that's too much for your knee, bringing that leg in nice and closely and just pressing that hip out away into that space behind, and you should feel it through that glute as well. Let's stay here for 1 more big breath. All right, and gently unraveling yourself there as well. Coming back to that 4-point kneeling position. Hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. We're going to move into a little bit of work on the arms and the chest. So from here, let's move into some push-ups. So chest is pressed up towards the sky, shoulders are nice and active, core is engaged, belly button drawing in towards the spine. From here, spread the fingers nice and wide so there's slightly less pressure on the wrists. We're going to bend the elbows, moving them out towards the sides as we shoot our way forwards and return back to that starting position. So if you need to readjust and take your hands a little bit wider, please do. Bending the elbows, weight comes forward, returning to that 4-point position. Staying with me here. So working into the chest muscles. Using the breath, inhale to lower. Exhale to press back up. If this is too much for you, just keep that weight a little bit further back. So aim for your chest to go between the hands rather than coming forward over the hands. And obviously a smaller bend will make it easier than a large bend of the elbows. Otherwise, you're staying with me, using that breath. Inhale to lower, exhale to lift. Thinking about drawing the shoulders back and down the spine as we do this as well. So the shoulders aren't creeping up towards the ears and we're working into those tight trapezius muscles. We really want to focus on the chest. Hopefully your arms are burning a little bit like mine. Let's go for 3 more. If this is also bothersome for your wrists at all, you can come onto a fist and do the exact same thing. 1 more. Nicely done. Coming back to that position, we've just got some pulses. So come down to that half little range. Just got small little bends of the elbow. Using the breath, we're not here for long. For 10, 9, 8, 7. Keep the core engaged. 4, 3, 2, 1. Whew. Let's just spread the knees, feet come back, sitting back into that child's pose position, reaching nice and long through the hands. Having a big deep breath in here. While we're here as well, let's just take the hands over to one side, stretching through that side waist where we did that oblique work in standing just before. So just feeling some length through the side. And then in your own time, just walking over to the other side and feeling length through that left side of the body now. Back to center. And let's bring ourselves forward again. In this position, let's stick with our 4-point kneel and move into some more core exercises. So again, knees underneath the hips, hands underneath the shoulders. Toes are tucked under. Let's press through the toes and the shoulders up towards the sky, lifting the knees up. So drawing the belly in towards the spine to engage the core. And then dropping back down. Just moving into the hover position. Small pausing at the top here as we hold, and then lower back down. A nice gentle lower. We've got 5 more of these. Just bringing the knees off slightly. 4. 3. Really pressing through the chest, staying nice and proud. 2. Last one. Nicely done. Straightening the legs, pressing back into that A-frame position. Let's just walk the knees out here, one at a time, feeling that length through the hamstrings, into the calf muscles. All right, bringing the hands slightly forward here. We're now going to roll ourselves forward into plank. You might need to shuffle your feet a little bit or your hands a little bit. And then pressing back more into downward dog. So our feet are a bit further back. We're opening up through the chest and the shoulders a little bit more here. Up onto the toes, flowing forward into plank. Nice and strong over the hands. Pressing back again. Let's just stick with this flow for a couple more goes. Rolling forward, engaging the core, belly in towards the spine, shoulders nice and proud, and pressing back. Using the breath. I'm wobbly already. 2 more here. Last one. Let's hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Knees come down. Oh my goodness. Let's press back again for just a moment. You can just lean into one shoulder at a time if you like. Rock a little bit side to side, whatever feels good for you. All right, coming down onto the forearms now. Let's give those wrists a little bit of a rest and move into a little bit more work on the legs. So bring both knees nice and close in towards the center, still underneath the hips. We're pressing up through the shoulders, so we're still working through the shoulders, keeping the chest nice and proud, weight nice and even through each arm. We're gonna keep our right leg on the mat, taking the left knee off the mat, extending that leg nice and long. You can take the elbows wider for that wider base of support, or keeping them nice and narrow. We're gonna lift that leg up, lower to tap the toes. So nice and strong through that leg, extending it long. Working into the glute muscles here, and the hamstrings a little bit as well. We're keeping the core engaged, so the rest of the body staying nice and still, and we're just moving through this left leg here. Squeezing to lift, and lower down slowly. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Stay with me here. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're staying at the top here for some pulses. You know it. Love the pulses. So just a small little movement, really driving from that hip, squeezing that bottom muscle nice and firmly. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bending the knee in, keeping it hovered off the mat, extend long. Just for 10, 9, that's 8, 7, 6, really pointing the toes. Feel that length, feel it as a powerful lengthening movement. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nicely done. Bringing that knee in towards the center now. Swapping to the other side, so you might want to bring your left knee a little bit closer to the middle, and we're going into working that right leg. I might actually just spin around a bit so you can see the form a little bit better. All right, so we are extending that right leg nice and long, keeping our core engaged, both hips facing down towards the mat, tapping the toes, squeezing the glute to lift up. So we only want to take the leg up in line with the body. If you're going much further than that, even if you're quite flexible, you're going to find that you tend to arch the back, which we don't want. That means we've lost control of our core position. So we're really focusing on controlling through this specific range of motion. Belly button in towards the spine, drawing the hip bones to the center together to engage that deep core. My bottom muscles are tired already. 4, 5, 4, point those toes long, 3, 2, and 1. We've got those pulses. If you're getting any pain through your calf, you can relax the foot or try flexing it in the opposite direction, whatever feels comfortable for you. Otherwise, you just want to think about lots of length through that leg. You want it to grow long. Keeping the hips level. 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're bending in, extending long for 10. Using the breath. Pressed up through the chest still. Stable through that planted knee. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done. Just taking the legs nice and long now, we're going to come down onto the belly. Let's just take a moment here for a nice big deep breath in and out. Give those legs a little bit of a wiggle, a bit of a shake after that hard bit of work. And then we're just bringing ourselves down. Arms come out to the sides here. We want to set ourselves up into a nice prone position, so we're lying on the belly, extending the legs nice and long. So think about growing through the body, like there's a big string on either end being pulled, and you want lots of length between the head and the feet. From here, hands out to the side in about a stop sign sort of position. We're going to relax the chest down on the mat. I'm going to move my mic out of the way. So chest relaxes down on the mat a little bit. Neck is neutral. Eye gaze down between the hands. We're pressing the pubic bone into the mat, so tucking the bottom under so that we're working through the mid-back muscles rather than the lower back. Lifting the belly away from the mat. We're going to lift the arms and lower down. So as we lift the arms, thinking about the shoulder blades sliding together on the spine. We want them to move down and towards the center. So making sure the shoulders aren't moving up towards the ears. Heavy through the pubic bone. Squeezing in between the shoulder blades here. Working into these mid-back muscles. I have to say these are definitely not my favorite exercises because they're the ones I know I need the most. This area of the body is so important for our posture, particularly if you get any neck or back pain or any stiffness in these areas as well. 4, 3, 2, maintain that length in the body, 1, nicely done. If you want to rest all the way down for a quick moment, you can. Otherwise, we're progressing into lifting our chest with this movement and lowering down. So stay with me if you can, otherwise you can just stick with that arm movement. So exactly the same, just lifting the chest off the mat now. So still trying to be heavy through the pubic bone. So it's not a huge range of motion. For 3, not here for long. 2, and 1. Let's hold at the top if you can. Extending the arms forward, returning back. Keeping those shoulders down and back. This one's a real challenge. Only stay with me if you can. Making sure the shoulders aren't creeping towards the ears. We're keeping them down and back and centered. 2 more. 1. And resting down. Nicely done. Bring the arms long down by the sides. We've just got a little bit more work in this position and then we are all done. Let's keep the shoulders back and down. So the shoulders are lifted up off the mat. We're going to lift the arms. Your chest can either stay down on the mat or lift up slightly. We're going to just pulse the arms up and down. So palms facing towards the sky. We're still heavy through the pubic bone here. Eye gaze is down. Squeezing through the shoulder blades. Now also squeezing into those tricep muscles at the back of the arm. Keeping the arms nice and close to the body. Using the breath. We're almost home. Doing well. For 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stay lifted here. Last little bit. We're rotating the hands down to face the palms towards the floor. Opposite direction, palms up to the sky. Nice and quickly here. Last little wet bit of work into the triceps. Keep those arms up nice and high, shoulders back and down. Again, chest can stay down if you need, or if you need a rest. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, resting down. Pop your head down for a moment. And when you're ready, we're just going to press ourselves back into a nice kneeling position. Here, let's just have a fold through the spine, letting the arms go heavy, the body go heavy. If this feels good for you, stay with me. Just finding some length through that mid-back area now after we worked into those muscles. You can have a gentle hold of the feet as well if that feels good. You don't want to be forceful with this movement, but you can apply a gentle bit of tension onto the feet to enhance that stretch if you like. Otherwise, just trying to breathe and relax into it. Unfolding yourself and just pressing back up into sitting. Let's just finish off with a nice tricep stretch. So taking one arm up nice and tall towards the sky, folding that arm down behind the back. The opposite arm comes across, hand into the elbow. Thinking about pressing the elbow into the hand, so opposing forces, and you should feel a stretch down the back of the arm here. When you're ready, swapping over to that other side. Arm goes nice and long, bends down behind towards the other shoulder, opposing forces between the hand and the elbow to stretch down the back of the arm there. Three more big breaths here. Unraveling yourself from that stretch there. Just have a bit of a shake out. You can roll the shoulders a couple of times if you like. Do whatever feels good for you. Alrighty. And we are all done. Thank you so much for joining me for this session today. I loved it. I hope you did as well. You found something challenging and feel really good afterwards. I'll see you for the next one.